This is Me, I Am Mental, the podcast. A quick disclaimer. The content you find here is neither intended to be therapy or diagnosis. It is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to yet another episode of
Me, I Am Mental.
Yes, the podcast where we try to bring you factual, credible, useful, and engaging information on mental health. My name is Charles Adede.
And my name is Darren Collins. We're not professionals, we're enthusiasts, or at least advocates, I suppose. Or we could also say that we are just guys who just feel like there should be a few more people talking in this space about mental health and how it affects everybody. And not mental health in such a way that it's like diagnosable and need to go to the hospital, which it could be, but mental health in like the sense that going to the gym is helps you your physical health on a spectrum. It exists on a spectrum, and maintenance is perfectly good even if you aren't experiencing health problems. And so in the same way, talking about mental health and dealing with mental health and discussing mental health with other people is probably just simply a good idea. And so having said that, meimental.me is our website. That's where you can go for all the information. But we have social medias also that are linked from there. But let's get right into it. Today, Charles, we have a guest.
The guest, his name is Eric Okech.
You always have interesting guests, and I don't know where they're going to come from.
Well, I am very, very networked, my dear man.
I'm a dear man. All right. Well, yeah, you are. I'm networked too, but not with educated people. Most of my people are actually, Eric, most of my friends are comedians, clowns, jugglers, magicians, puppeteers, and actors.
Those are the people who make life nice.
They are. They're the people who have mental health issues. No, they really do. It's really fun. It's a cool social group. It really
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, right. Don't expect it.
Yeah, every week we sort of just discuss, various aspects of mental health, and sometimes we just talk to people who are dealing with a very specific issue that might also have mental health ramifications. So it's sort of general, and it's kind of a conversation in that way. Yeah. We're not really just going to drill you with questions or anything. So feel free to be comfortable.
And if you do have, questions for us as well, or things you think we might shine some light on from our own perspective, it's just a conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are actually going to discuss autism. Many of us have at some point or the other maybe encountered the word autism, and we have a vague notion of what it might be. Very vague. We do suspect that an autistic person, there's something off with them, and that's mostly where we leave it at. And but then we bumped into Eric, who is, I think, pretty much a subject matter expert. And the point of this conversation is for him to shed as much light on autism. We have people who are affected by autism either as the carrier of the condition, and as well as the people providing the support to the affected persons, and their mental health issues that are cross-cutting. I suspect that Eric would then be able to help us understand what autism is, how it affects people, and possibly if we are to provide any sort of support to them, what support would be needed. So Eric, where we would start here is just a snapshot of who is Eric. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, who has Charles brought to us today?
Yes. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Charles, and thank you for hosting me. As Charles said, my name is Eric Okech. I'm a good person with the kids, mostly kids with autism.
Oh, okay.
And mostly kids with special needs, now in the umbrella term.
Okay.
Yes, so that is where I get my fun, that is where I get my happiness, that is where I get my therapy, working with those kids. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you get there? I mean, how did you get to be interested in special needs and working with children? And you're a dude.
Yes. First, being a dude, and then being in a field where the women are taking over. They are seen to have more heart for it. It came really into me back then in high school. Went through high school, finished. Then now I'm in college. Still in high school, I used to have a classmate who had some special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the special needs used to get to my nerves at some point, because we want to move faster in some subjects, but then it's kind of dragging us back. So it used to get to me, and to now, I think I went back and said sorry to that classmate of mine. Flash forward, we are in college. Now I'm in college. I'm presented with this list of courses that I should check and pick the one I'm interested with. So we go through them. Then the guy who was guiding me tells me, now I'll give you 5 of them. Then from these 5, the initial list was of around 20 courses.
Spoiled for choice.
So I was spoiled for choice. So he told me, choose. I'll give you 5, of which I think you will fit best. Then he gave me 5. Then on picking order, the one I'm working on right now was the very last one, the 5th one.
Okay.
Yes, so the first one, checked, no. The man is good, but I don't like it. I don't feel like doing it. Second one, yes, good, but then I won't see the flash of life, the things I like in life. So the 3 remaining, I had to go home first, then think about them. Then at that time, I was still in a football team deep in Mathare slums. So there we were playing at the Mathare Youth Sports Association Premier League. In that Premier League, I had 2 teammates. One who was having some deafness, a hearing impairment, and the other one whom we used to call at that time was Zimu. He had mental challenges.
All right.
He was intellectually challenged.
Zimu is a catch-all for mad people.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a cultural word for mad people.
All right.
So at that time, zero knowledge, very green in this field, so I used to refer to them as mad. Then we are in a team. So you see, in a team, this guy here cannot hear. So I need to ask for the ball from him. How? I need to be very visual. It needs to be very visual. It needs to be very loud. It needs to be, you see, a lot of signs. So then went back after a week or 2 to the college guy who was taking me through. Then he told me, now, what is the decision? I told him, I think I'll try special needs. Then he told me, why? I think I want to try it. If anything happens in between, then I'll definitely pull out. So he told me.
If it ends up not meeting you.
Yes.
Yes.
So he told me, okay, go in. The money is not there. The cash is not there. But it needs a very big heart. And probably you get your joy there. So here I am in that field. And with all the joy I can think I have.
Boy, I relate so well. I'm also in a field that doesn't pay anything that I love.
You're broke all the time.
Broke all, yeah.
But you have a blast.
Yeah. That's what I like to do. We're peas in a pod. Whereas Charles hates his job and is lousy money. Money falling out of his pockets.
For sure.
Anyway, yeah. So what exactly do you do right now?
Right now,
So you did special needs.
Yes, I did
Then
special
you went
needs.
to a subset of special needs, which is autism.
Yes.
Perhaps even before we come to what exactly you do, how did you make that decision that there's special needs, which is already, wow, there's a lot going on, and now you zero in on autism?
Now, with autism, I had instances in Mathare. Now, Mathare, that just the far end of Mathare, along the superhighway, we have the Mathare Hospital. That is a mental hospital. And then the far side of Juja Road, we have the Mathare Special School.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this special school works in more of vocational. So I had instances there, and since that area was my local, I used to very much operate from there. I used to rub shoulders with those kids, going to school, coming to school. Then the other instance was at the hospital now, when this time they came and broke out sometimes back. Some few kids came out. And the handling, yes.
Oh, from the hospital?
From the hospital.
Okay.
Now, the handling of the common mwananchi, you and I, was very wrong. So the handling was very wrong. So I went back, and then after the special needs, then I asked, this case that I see some familiar behavior doing like this, then I referred to a teacher and asked him, what is the name of this condition, and how is it operating in Kenya? Then she told me it is autism. I told her I'm interested in it. She pretty much told me, right now we don't have the facilities in the country for that. We group them as mentally, intellectually challenged, of which it's okay. It's okay. It's the umbrella word is mentally challenged, but then under we have the autism. This one was not catered for. So
what year was this?
This was 2015 to 2018.
Okay.
Yes.
And this was at in Mathare.
Yes.
So help me understand, because I've been there a few times, but I feel like parts of it are like informal settlements, but parts of it are like estates. Is that true? Is it sort of a mixture? Or
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture.
Yes.
And the hospital is a government hospital.
Yes, it's a government.
That's serving just that area? Because I hear the name come up all the time, even if people aren't necessarily from that area. Well, why is it situated there? and how did that, why do people always refer to Mathare Hospital? Because there are other hospitals.
It's the premier psychiatric referral hospital in the country.
And it's located in that neighborhood.
It is located there.
Did it predate the informal settlement aspect of the neighborhood?
It's the formal side.
It's in the formal side.
It's the formal side.
Okay, I see.
Just along the superhighway.
Yeah, I've seen it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So and you grew up in that area.
Yes, I grew up in that area. Born, grew up there.
Okay.
And then now.
And so when you inquired at that time in 2015, they're like, yeah, we know what it is, but we don't actually specifically have any care for that particular condition. Okay, and that's changed now, though, right?
Yes, it has really changed, and it's
thanks
beautiful.
to people like you. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It has really changed.
Okay. So at that time you asked that you're interested in this, and you're told sort of like why there's not enough to make a career out of this. Is that the answer you sort of got?
Yes, that is how I understood them.
Okay, and you still went ahead?
Yes, I still went ahead.
Yes.
Why? Because at that time we had the hearing impairment side, where I could just go learn some sign language, and that'll be fine. I can communicate with them. I've already reached out to them. I could have gone to school, learned some bit of Braille, understood Braille, then I would have gotten to that guy with visual impairment. But now it came to me, how do I get to this boy with mental challenges? And worse of it, he has mental challenges and he cannot speak. Wow. How do I get to them? Because to you, I'll talk to you. I'll really yell at you. I'll tell you.
Sure.
Yeah. But then how do I get to them?
Mm-hmm.
How do they get to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't speak. Probably the signs.
So
they
you're
don't
just
have
fascinated
that.
with actually communicating, like the path forward for communicating to
Yes.
people with other conditions is pretty straightforward.
Yes.
But so you're talking about nonverbal,
Yes, nonverbal.
because it exists like what's called on a spectrum, but it really
Mhm.
runs the gamut of like how it affects people, right?
True.
But you were particularly interested in even people who are nonverbal are unable to communicate,
Yes.
or generally nonverbal.
Generally on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you you insist and you start your training in autism.
Yes. And now went into autism, and I specialized in it now from 20. Now it's practical 9 years.
Okay.
Really?
9 years with autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is autism? That's now like, a good place for you to introduce us to the technical stuff. And perhaps before we even get to that, so now you've been working, what do you, maybe we can put off the technical bit a little further. So 9 years now, you've been working in the autism space.
Yes.
What do you do generally?
Generally, I teach first. I'm in class.
Who are you teaching?
Autistic children.
Wow. Okay. Uh-huh.
Then I do assessments
Uh-huh.
for the autistic children. Then I do.
What does an assessment mean in this case?
When I receive a child and I need to prepare an intervention measure
Mm-hmm.
for them, I need to do an assessment of the child. Well, have some observation. I'll have pretty much good time with the child. Then there I'll put down my assessment of them. Then if I am the one to prepare the intervention, I'll do it myself. But now if I am the one to advise the parents, now that is what I give to them, the assessment report. I give it to them, then they can get an intervention measures.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you teach, you assess,
I assess, and then I am also a consultant, autism consultant.
Like to parents?
Yes, parents and families
Mhm.
with autism.
Okay.
Yes.
What does an autism consultant do?
An autism consultant works closely with the professional in charge of a child with autism. That one, I can say speech therapist, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, behavioral therapist, parents, and then the school at large. Now from there, we get an individualized program
Mm-hmm.
for the child at home and at school. So the consultancy is more of advising the families what's best for a particular child, what is not really profitable for a particular child. So it's more of helping them understand the situation of their child better and helping them to cope with it at home and at school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what is autism? Tumeongea na tujui hata ni nini. What is this autism thing?
Autism, it's a spectrum. Spectrum, I mean, it comes in different shapes, different styles, different colors, different manifestations. So generally, autism is a lifelong condition. Lifelong condition meaning you will live with it till you're done. The lifelong condition, it affects communication, it affects social interactions, it affects behavior, and it also displays some we call them repetitive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So can you describe, for instance, an autistic person? How would you typically know in a crowd, for instance, that person is autistic?
Yes. First of all, when you meet one autistic person, you have met just one. You cannot use that.
There's no standard.
That diagnosis for Charles. I use it for See? So it is very, very, very diverse, and it's very, very open. But then when an autistic child comes in a crowd, you will see some repetitive behaviors. For example, they will be flipping their fingers. For example, they will be poking their eyes. For example, they will be very, very strict to their routines. They will have a particular way of arranging their toys, and that is it. If it changes, the routine is off, tantrums will kick in. Some of them don't really maintain an eye contact. So some of them have very tantrumish way of communication. So they won't tell you what they want, but instead they will take your hand to what they need.
Okay.
The social bit, sometimes you will spot a child playing alone. They don't really have that capacity to turn take in play. They don't have that capacity of sharing a toy. They don't have that capacity of being looking at play. Then self-initiative to go join the play. They are pretty much loners. You can say that.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's very interesting. So suppose in a family of, say, 10, then there is this kid who is autistic and the parents have no clue. They have never come across the word autism. They just think this is a weird child. And then they're trying to beat the child to shape, because, I mean, that's how most of us were raised.
True.
If you were not, following some, the usual regimen, family regimen, you'd just be beaten. So, and in Kenya, very few people, like I said, even very well-educated people have any inkling as to what autism is. At what point does this person begin to figure, I need to seek intervention as a caregiver?
As a caregiver.
I want to assume also that for those very reasons, the fact that it is so diverse, manifestation is so diverse, many autistic kids remain undiagnosed. So how do you handle this? Is it possible that we have very many adults who are autistic? Also, there are very many children who are not being served because nobody knows what's going on. And if so, what do we do?
Yes, there are many adults who are on the autism spectrum. That is first because of sometimes back we were not really serious with early intervention. With early intervention, we are now trying to push the early intervention thing in all the institutions.
Well, you said it's lifelong, so what do you mean by intervention?
Yes, early intervention, we are making that condition, that person be very much able to live with their condition. How? Because if I arrest nonverbal tendencies at the age of 2, I'm in a very good position as a speech therapist to help that child gain some speech. Compared to if I diagnose this person at age 9, the language development will have gone off. Okay. For example, if I get a child at 2 years and then there is a diagnosis done and we ascertain it's autism, it is very easier to manage that condition at that age than it is to manage it at 10.
I see.
Yes. So we are advising them to have early intervention.
What other interventions are there besides speech, verbal skills?
Occupational therapies. That is what we work mainly on activities of daily living.
Oh.
The simple things of buttoning, simple things of lacing your shoes, simple things of putting on your coat properly.
Is it okay?
Yes. simple simple things like bathing, simple things like taking care of your hair. You see? So those are the simple. It is simple to you and I, but then some of our kids have to be taught that even at the age of 8, 9, 10 years.
I'm guessing there's other ones. Is it like emotional regulation and that sort of thing? Or is
Yes, now that is a behavioral therapist.
Okay.
Yes.
So occupational is like doing things,
Yes.
and behavioral is how you sort of act.
Act, yes.
And then what do you call it? Speech or
Speech.
Speech therapy. Is there any others?
There is speech therapist, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, behavioral therapist.
Well, so I'm missing one. So, speech.
Speech therapy.
Occupational is just like being able to do daily tasks.
Yes. Then we have the physiotherapy.
Okay, so what is that?
Physiotherapy is more of the gym work.
What kind?
Gym.
Oh,
the gym work. The gym work, why do they need the physio thing? Some of them have issues with their larger muscles.
Oh.
Large muscles are
They don't develop.
yes, the feet. They are not coordinated enough.
They're not coordinated. Yeah, because I know two of my friends have very, very large children that are way bigger than dad, way stronger than dad, even at age like 18.
Yeah.
And so they have to. I thought that would make sense because like he can actually. It's hard to even play with his kid because the kid will hurt him. It's hard to play basketball with him because the kid will just run him over. And so I'm guessing that falls into that category.
Yes, that's
okay. Okay. And so when a mom or a dad realizes this is going on, there's like 4 areas that they can help improve. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but how so your rural mom in wherever it is, in some village in Kenya.
Yes.
They're just going to lock that kid up. And if you take that kid to school, the kid is going to be beaten to pulp by teachers and their peers. And unless we get to know what exactly is going on, how much have we done to sensitize schools all over about such needs? And if are teachers aware, can teachers then take some measures to help such children?
Yes, sensitization has really gone up, and I'm happy. I'm glad to be part of that team that is doing most of the sensitization. We are pretty much doing much in the Maasai Land, largely in Kajiado County. Now, the idea of children being locked up, it happens, they're there. And you cannot go there and castigate the parents. You cannot go there and really hit the parents. Because even to us professionals, at some point, the autistic children are a handful.
Yeah.
You can't really get hold of them. Sometimes they get you to your nerves. You need to very, very be okay with your breathing, with all that. You need to control yourself.
Very regulated.
Yes, you need to control yourself a lot. So if this is a professional, I have the option.
Struggling.
Yes, I have the option to pull out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But now you are the parent to this child. Do you have the option to pull out?
No, it's a lifelong.
No.
You're chained to them.
You see, you will be there. So if however much we want to lay this blame on the parents or on the guardians, some of them don't know, and pretty much most of them don't know. And when you go there, show how it's done to that child, how you need to care for that child, how you need to help that child, they do it and they become very, very happy.
What is the ideal age of diagnosis?
The ideal age of diagnosis is 2 years.
Is it always possible to actually diagnose at 2 years?
It is possible. That is the age that I can see. You see, after birth to 2 years, a majority of the developmental milestones have come through. simple developmental milestones like babbling, using simple vocabularies, maintaining an eye contact, a child responding to a cuddle, a child responding to a back rub. You see, when you're holding a child and you're trying to cuddle them and they become irritated, that should be a sign. When you give your child a back rub and they all of a sudden they also being very irritated, it could be a sign. When they don't maintain an eye contact with you, when they cannot move closer to where play is, it could be a sign. So when
they can't move closer to what?
When they cannot move closer to where the play is, where the entertainment is.
Okay.
That could be a sign. So at 2 years, we gave at 2 years because at 2 years, majority of the developmental milestones
I see.
are
Those particular developmental milestones that are sort of classic symptoms or signs.
Yes.
I see. And so for parents, they should be keen. What, like, you know, if you're a new parent, like, what should you be keen to look out for? Like at age, do you start looking out when they turn 2, or is it something you can begin to observe at age 1? What's best case scenario for a new dad? Seriously,
because he's planning on becoming a dad soon.
There is.
Yeah, Father's Day is already a lot of those reverse calls. I'm getting those. So, okay. The question would be like, what's the prevalence?
Yes.
What's the prevalence of this?
No, but also it's a very good question you asked.
I want to get there, but I want to talk for the listeners. Like, okay, you're a new dad. You know, do you worry about it at all, or is there like a 1 in 100 chance? You know, what are the odds that a child born in Kenya in 2024 is, or maybe let's go back to 2022. Do we have any statistics on how many children are born on the spectrum? Do we know?
No, we don't have the precise statistics.
What's your guess?
My guess?
Yeah.
I cannot give a guess.
Really?
You cannot. It would be okay.
Yeah.
What about worldwide? I mean,
Interesting.
do we have any knowledge about how many children are born?
I can give an estimate
Okay.
of boys to girls.
Okay.
Yes, boys are more prevalent.
Boys it's more prevalent in boys. Okay.
Yes.
But we don't. You don't have any idea of how many. I'm gonna Google it.
Which ties to another question. So,
Yes.
is autism hereditary, or is it nature? Is it environmental? What causes autism? Do we know?
Research as at now, it gives a clear sight of genetics that puts us at the heredity.
Okay.
Yes, some genes could match up for autism, and then the environmental bit of it is also there. During, post, and pre-birth and
Yes.
post-birth.
Okay.
That process there can also
Check this out.
cause.
2019. Official data on autism prevalence in Kenya are not available, but the Autism Society of Kenya, a parent-driven organization established in 2013, they believe that it could be up to 4%, or 1 autistic child for every 25 children.
Okay.
The World Health Organization said it's about 1 in 100. But I think it would. They're saying it's sort of tricky because, like you said, if you're not diagnosing it right away, you as an adult, it might be he's just an unusual adult or whatever. But it does make sense. Like, what about intense eye contact? Is that
Yes.
also a thing?
Yes, it also.
Really?
We have the hyper. We have the hyper and we have the hypo.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that. But first, okay. So early detection signs. You're a new dad. It's 2024. Your child's 1 year old. You see the child every day. What do you start looking for?
Now, Before we get there to when you have seen your child, when the mother goes to the clinics, he's given a cycle of developmental milestones.
Okay.
Yes. So this thing, he carries it home.
Okay.
When he gets home, he will be guided. She will be guided on how to follow it.
But who gives her this?
The hospitals are there, the clinics, the development.
Automatic?
I think it's
they're
it's the usual. Is it postnatal
yes,
care?
in postnatal care.
So just during the general process, you'll always be given a chart and some information about
Really?
the milestones.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have to carry your own blanket to go to the maternity ward and bring your own, extra slippers and everything else, but they're going to give you a pamphlet on the way out. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, some of these hospitals, like, you have to bring your own medicine. I'm not wrong, right?
You are right.
Okay,
You're right.
but they will give you a pamphlet on the way out saying these are your developmental milestones. Who's paying for that?
That is so funny.
That's an interesting one.
I'm just skeptical that this guide exists for anything.
But I suppose my personal experience has been that you actually get that information. They're quite good at it.
Okay.
But now, I'm not sure whether that happens everywhere.
It can't.
Or if that information is, or maybe what we are talking is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe as we move further out into maybe the more rural, more marginalized communities,
At the very
you
least,
might find that
could Google it,
it's
yeah.
not so much that they get pamphlets, but I think there's some communication maybe from community, health personnel. There's some sort of they're able to help you monitor, because a pamphlet might not even serve you depending on whether your levels of literacy and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sorry to interrupt, but I just thought that was.
Yeah. So we were talking about heredity and nature nurture.
Yes,
and
nature
you say
nurture.
that
Yes. Those are some of speculations for the causes of autism. But now a straight cause of autism, we don't have it yet.
Okay.
We don't have it yet.
And so, can we go back to the question? Like, what does a dad look for? What are the signs and symptoms you're looking for? Because ideally, if it is 1 in 100 or 1 in 25, you want to catch it as early as possible.
Yes.
And so the things we're looking out for are if they don't hit certain developmental milestones by age of 2, and I imagine it's more than just 5 things. It could be
True.
Can you name a bunch of them?
Yes, there are quite of them.
Okay.
Yeah, there are quite of them. You see, after birth to age probably we say 20 months, after birth to 20 months, this particular child should be able to crawl, should be able to stand on their feet, should be able to sit still, okay, should be able to maintain an eye contact, should be able to track an object by the eye. They should be able to react to sensories, light, audio, touch. They should be able to react to them. They should be able to engage in play. They should be able to get hold of a cup and at least take it towards the mouth. They should be able to grasp, to give a big grasp of their hands of an object. So all those milestones are quite of the things that when they are not coming at the situated time, we now term it as a delayed milestone.
Which can be some kids don't walk for a long time or crawl for a long time.
Yes.
But if that's and they're also not making eye contact.
Yes.
You might go, Okay. Let's look
So
into
what
this.
would happen is, do you need a cluster of these things to come
Yeah,
together
that's what
before
I'm
you're
asking.
able to say this is likely to be autism?
Yes.
And suppose, like there's some kids, I know of a girl who up to age, I think she's probably 5 or 6 now, but her speech is still very sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then a lot of other things she just does properly.
Mhm.
So that is probably just a speech thing. You can isolate that and say this is speech, it's not autism.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming that a few other things, if she had speech and then she had maybe other behavioral challenges, or then you would probably say, let us seriously consider the possibility of autism here. Is that how it works?
Yes, you need a cluster. You need a cluster of this
Mm-hmm.
of these traits, because in the manifestation, I'll give an example. I'm working with a child right now. He's on the spectrum, and he has very good social skills.
Okay.
Yes, but he was diagnosed with autism. So you see, that is an interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting.
So how does it manifest itself if it's
Yes.
not?
Yes, it manifests itself differently.
I mean, for that particular person.
Yes, for a particular person. That's why when we are preparing an intervention method,
Mhm.
I cannot use yours for Charles's.
Right.
Yes,
But for a person who does have like really good social skills,
yes.
What's the challenge?
What's
The challenge with the boy is hyperactivity,
Oh.
concentration, attention to detail, joint attention,
Mm-hmm.
and then speech.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Then we have the simple things in class, like the grasping for pencil, pre-writing skills,
Mm-hmm.
where they have to hold a pencil and they have to scribble, where they have to color, you see, within the margins at a particular time. So where they have to coordinate the eye and the hand. Some of these children, they cannot coordinate the eye and the hand. They will do their work but looking at you. So that is part of what the class.
So when you say spectrum, you've used the word spectrum severally, and maybe some people might know, get a sense of what you're saying. Some people are clueless. What is spectrum? When people are on the spectrum, what do you mean?
On the spectrum, it's simply something that is changing. Something that is not constant. A shape that is not constant. It's like water. When I put it in a paper, it will take the shape of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
When I put it in a glass bottle, it's taking the shape of the paper. Why is it a spectrum? Because kid A, this boy is super hyperactive, cannot settle down,
Mm-hmm.
cannot give you an attention of 10 minutes. Then you meet this girl who is very calm, gives you an attention of 50 to 60 minutes. This boy who gives you 10 minutes gets his assignment done correctly. This girl who gives you 50 minutes cannot complete the assignment.
Mm.
So that is the simple idea of spectrum.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And does it manifest differently in boys and girls?
Yes, it manifests differently in boys and girls. We are looking at the boy and the girl. The boys, we have the masculinity bit in us, the testosterone. I believe I've said the right
Testosterone.
word. Testosterone. Yeah,
Mm.
that is the right word. It is very much present in the boys. So singling out a boy with autism is easy than singling out a girl with autism.
Guys, so
Yes. So the boys will be running all over. Then the other reason is in autism we have this particular behavior of specific interest in a specific activity or a specific thing. Now the girls tend to have the specifications in the girlish things, like fashion, nice dress, clean nails. They will have the girl in them. But now the boys will be totally different.
cars.
Yes, the boy will be there, because all of a sudden the boy will want a doll. So you see that it is easy to single out autism in a boy than in a girl. I think the research of 2019 should be around there, to saying misdiagnosis is more in girls than in boys because of the reasons that I've just given.
Because they tend to be quieter.
Yes, many girls tend to be very calm on the autism spectrum. The majority of them can give 60% of them tend to be very calm. Yes.
And so if somebody is calm, and many of us as parents, what we want is a calm, obedient child.
Exactly.
And here is a calm, obedient child. You wouldn't really see a problem. You wouldn't want to, why are you taking this kid to... isn't it? So I can see how, for a long time, you maybe later on when they're struggling in school and you're wondering, what's going on, that's when somebody might say, hey, this is the issue, which might still be very surprising for you. Because actually, I think many of us think of autism as manifesting through hyperactivity and some sort of uncontrollable behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how we picture it.
True.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is more present in boys. Girls also have that trait of hyperactivity, but it is more present in boys.
Okay.
Yeah, it is more present. It is more pronounced in boys than in girls.
Yeah. So the young people intervention is possible. Now, suppose someone is at about age 10.
Yes.
And you diagnose them.
Now, age 10 diagnosis, what we normally try to do is never say and never. And there is no time, it's late for that diagnosis. Why are we saying this? Because it is not the problem of the person who was in charge of the child. The diagnosis of the spectrum was not that pronounced at that time. We used to group them. These are intellectually
challenged people.
Yes, these are mentally challenged. I see. Now that we gave them a group name of mentally challenged, mental conditions and syndromes. That is where the autism, the mentally challenged, the Down syndromes there. Then we have the sensory ones, the visual, and the hearing impaired. So at that time we used to give it an umbrella name of mentally challenged, not knowing in there we have autism,
yes.
We have the ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorders. All those are under those intellectual disabilities. But now it is good because all these things are coming up. The diagnoses are coming up earlier. The diagnoses are coming up more
clearly. Like it's easy to pin.
Yes.
You can be more accurate with your diagnosis.
And it is even easier for the person going to work with the child to know what to prepare for, to know how to get an intervention for the child.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the facilities. Okay. So you have schools.
Yes.
In the past, the usual thing to do with people who are considered somewhat challenged would be to segregate them and have, either special classes for them or push them to a special school that generally caters to all of them. I do not know whether currently that is still what happens, or what is the best model for dealing with them. Do you integrate them? Try to integrate them in the usual, spaces, or do you still set them aside so that you meet their needs? Yeah, that way.
In that area, we have different ways of tackling that, where we have the full integration of the child with autism. This is for those who have gone into the foundation levels of intervention, where they have received all the therapies that they needed. They have received a specialized educational program for them to be able to settle in a mainstream class.
Okay.
Now that position, if we come across a child like that one, there will be a transitional program that will be prepared when we feel the child is ready. This transition program should be shared between the current institution and the institution that the child will be joining. Now this one will write a report to take it there. What is the support materials that the child need? What is the support personnel that the child will need? What is the adjustments in the classroom during play? What are the adjustments that will be done for the child to settle in the mainstream? That is one area. Now the other one is the partial mainstreaming.
So wait, let me understand. So I'm trying to recap that. So we have a situation where you have a child, maybe age 2, luckily, they're diagnosed early.
Yes.
And immediately the professionals come in and somehow they get like a really, decent intervention that upskills them and gives them,
True.
good capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point you make the decision that for this child, the best way for them to develop is in society.
Yes.
So you want to mainstream them.
Yes, we mainstream them.
And therefore you then prepare the report. There's this coordination between,
Yes.
and then so when this kid now joins here, they find the environment and the support they would need to carry on. So the question there again is, typically, is that the best approach? Is it always best to try and integrate them in society? Is that the ideal way to approach this thing?
First, I'll answer like a parent.
Yes.
I'll answer like a parent.
Yes.
If I'm a parent with a child with autism, of course I'll want them to learn like the other child.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
True?
Yeah.
Yes. I will want them to be in that school that the brothers, the sisters are in. So that is one area. Now, as a professional, I will tell you now, yes, this one can happen, but not at the time you want. At the time the child will be ready for that. It might be late, kidogo, might be late. Could take few years, few months before they can join in the mainstream compared to the other typical child. But then that is the ideal time that they are ready for that.
You need for them to be ready.
Yes, we need for them to be ready, because in as much as they have autism, they are not non-living things. Because if I don't want this cup here, I just move it here. See? But now, if I want Charles to move here, Charles, please, can you move here? I'll need to talk to Charles.
Yeah.
You see? So I need to talk to the boy. I need to talk to the child. I need to prepare the child. I need to make them understand why we are taking it long for them to be ready for that transition. And that transition, I need also to tell him, we are going there because you have done well here, and now you're moving to. I need them to be part of this program, because once I do that switch, I flap, pop, it becomes chaotic, because now the reaction to change of environment and routine is normally chaotic.
Sure.
Yes, very chaotic.
Wow. Okay. And building on that, so here's another fascinating thing. Is it possible to have a full class of autistic people?
Yes, it's possible.
But they are so different.
Very different.
So how do you create the sense of, how do you create the sort of order or sort of sameness or a program that caters to them when they are so different? I mean, you do it already. So I'm just fascinated by the idea that...
For example, there are ratios for child to teacher. So I am not able to exceed a particular number of children in class, especially the autistic children. Now, in these autistic children, there are those that are, we call them high functioning, not supposed to talk of high functioning, but they are in the far right of the spectrum, the Asperger syndrome. Those ones have the ability for academics. Mm-hmm. Yes, they can sit in class, do some academics. Now, that one is easier to prepare a group intervention, then followed up with an individualized intervention. Now, this other group of classical autism...
Sorry, so I'm just going to interject, and we're going to circle back to the classical. But Asperger's would be the sort of like guys who they might say have some certain social challenges, but when they sit, they're like, they'll do that math and they'll do that English, and they're like geniuses almost, right?
Yes. They struggle with their own challenges, socially, communication. But then when the interest is in numbers, they will do it perfectly. When they sit down, for example, you're talking about language, they will talk to you beautifully. You see, you will achieve what you need to target
academically. But now when it comes to maybe social issues, that is where you need to
see the autism.
I see. So them, they're not, is it fair to say that they're not very challenging in class?
They are challenging because the behavioral bit
is where
challenging.
Okay.
Yes, so they don't know how to express their emotions. When they are mad, you'll see them laughing. When they are laughing, they will not see you cry and sympathize with you. You just cry and they laugh.
Okay.
You see, they don't know how to express that emotion. The emotional beat in them is not there. The social bit, they don't know what is a good social cue and a bad social cue. They'll just come, pull your hair, strangle your neck, pull your shirt, and they laugh. You see?
Whoa.
So those are the bit of the challenges that they have.
So you have those ones in class, and then you have those ones who are also sort of quote unquote non-academic. And you have a mix of them. So how do you manage that?
We have the far right, we have the Asperger's, and the middle we have the classical autism.
Yes.
Classical autism. Classical autism, we have those that cannot manage the academic bit. The autism has really severely impaired them. Now, those ones we normally look at their daily living skills. We want to empower them with an interest they have. We want to empower them with the vocational skills. You see, that is what we want to empower them, because we have can count 8. They are very good in farming right now. Very good in farming. They can plow. They can plant their seeds. They can water their seeds. They can wait. They know the right time to do what for the plant. You see, so those are on where it is impaired kabisa. And now we have the classical ones. These ones, the emotional bit, the academic is there, is not there, somewhere. And then they are social. They are very, very good social beings. Those are the middle ones.
Those are the, okay, so, this is very interesting. So them, socially, they are okay, but they struggle when it comes to academics.
Yes.
So you do your best when it comes to academics, but socially it's not so challenging.
Yes. Now,
the Asperger's one have, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, they're brilliant intellectually, but they have no social skills.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you and so that will be your class.
Yes, that is more or less the 3 classes you could get. Now, the severe ones, you cannot have many in a class. You cannot have a group of, let's say, 5 or 4 in a class. It will be chaos.
It almost needs one-on-one.
Yes, one-on-one. A maximum of 2 will manage.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, in the severe cases where the hyperactivities are on the roof, the persistive behaviors are on the roof, the antisocial behaviors are on the roof, you cannot manage 4 or 5. You'll manage a smaller number at a time.
Are these people best institutionalized, in which case you would have them, say, in a boarding facility, or is it best to have them stay at home and come to school so that you maintain that connection with family and community? What is your view?
After school, for example, now I need my child with autism to be in school for 8 years. Okay, now he's in boarding for 8 years. After 8 years, where to?
He has to go back to community, and
he
has no
connection
with society.
The society does not know what autism means. The society does not know my brother Charles here has an autistic child in his home. I need to support him. 1, 2, 3. I need to put, for example, the dangerous materials, matchboxes away. You see, I need to put the syringes, the nails away. I need to to make this environment safer for the child. When they are in boarding, how will we connect with the reality of autism as a society?
Okay.
I think boarding school is a bad idea in general. But
Very bad idea.
Shouldn't board anybody.
So
I don't even like being bored.
It's an interesting point to consider, particularly in. I keep thinking about rural Kenya, right, where maybe it might not be easy to have a facility that where they can then be day scholars, right?
Yeah.
Because they are special needs children. Maybe they it's not like a city where it's easy to maybe have a number of them to raise like a substantial number very quickly and near to their homes. So these ones maybe they live very far. By the time you have a facility like a school, then of necessity you have to remove them from their homes. And maybe it's only by removing them from their homes that the parents can even be able to do stuff.
Yeah, it's like a catch-22.
It's a real catch-22.
You would really need to have a lot of money to be able to send them somewhere that's great.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you wouldn't be living way out in the village if you had a lot of money.
And now, like you say rightly, you remove these people from community for a while. People then forget that they exist because now life is very sort of normal, right? And then this person gets to a point where they must go back into community, but there's nothing there for them. Yeah, so it becomes again a very strange. So what do you do? I mean,
that is a reality. That's the reality, especially in our rural areas. It's a very big reality, but now it cuts back to sensitization. They don't have the information. They don't have the simple intervention ideas. Simple intervention ideas of holding the autistic child at the back of, from the back, just holding the front chest, the boys, then breathing with them.
To calm them down?
They calm down. They don't have the simple things of just maintaining a conversation with the child, talking to them. Because we tend to think that our ski, they don't Yeah, we tend to think that they don't understand. That child understands everything. The only challenge is they cannot organize the information and put it back to you.
Yeah, it seems like I have a lot of dude friends that have children with autism, and they've all kind of figured it out, and they've all the kids have grown to beyond high school and in a little bit of university, sort of, in that sense, and they're clearly neurodivergent in a I'd say they started off nonverbal, as young kids, but then were able to communicate. It still to me seems severe, but I don't know, it's worked out.
Yeah.
For the most part, because they learned all those things.
Yes.
They learned all the interventions about how to hold them, how to breathe with them, how to talk with them, and how to sort of encourage them, and how to, just go through all those things. And it not to say it's easy, but it seems like there was always a path.
Okay.
Do you know many?
No, I don't. That's it. That's
really? Okay. Yeah, I know quite a few. Yeah.
Not enough.
I know one kid that he would never my buddy's kid he would even at age 15 or 16 he wouldn't be able to look me in the eyes, but they would get him to greet me and say hello, and he'd sort of try to shake my hand and look away. But it was clear that he understood everything. He just wasn't able to act it out, but because of the sheer amount of knowledge and the patience the parents had, it's not a death sentence. It's not like your kid has to be put away or anything like that.
Correct.
And then I know another family where the kid is also doesn't really look anyone in the eyes, doesn't really talk, and just seems to be fairly opinionated when the talking does come up, but then also is like reads 100 books a week. And actually probably doesn't really care about school because it's also easy, or something, or just maybe strong-willed. But at the same time, sometimes can carry on a conversation just fine for a moment. But I think it was a long path. And then I remember going when I went to school, though. I don't think they figured it out as much because in the 90s, in the 80s, I don't think they really had it drilled down what to do with those kids. But also in our town, we had a facility there, so our town was pretty used to people being integrated. A lot of people who worked at supermarkets, and then people who what other jobs they have? They had job placement programs, and we did have a facility not far from our high school where guys would live there. They would leave their parents' homes and eventually live there, and so. I don't know many examples of people with autism that are like helpless or hopeless or anything like that. It seems to kind of work out for the majority. What's your experience? I mean, does it is some of it just sort of like a lost cause, or does everyone sort of?
That's a very elaborate, very comprehensive sort of framework for managing, like right from diagnosis to the developmental stage, and then in adulthood, there's also a space for them, and then community seems to be like very aware of their needs, and therefore somehow everybody is helping along. I'm just curious to know whether, like in Kenya, there is anything that mirrors that sort of very comprehensive.
Yes, that is what we are trying to come up with. That is what we are trying to sort of make it really clear.
Yes.
Because at some point it is happening, but now when they are released to the society, there is no follow-up, because with adult space is where the big challenge, where the disconnect could come in.
That's where it's happening the most right now, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That is where the disconnect could come in, because someone need to follow up. That's why we have the home intervention care. The home intervention care, we empower the caregivers at home to follow up on what we had started.
Is there like a society of house help that are trained, or nannies?
No.
That would be interesting, right? Because so many people have house help here. And it would be interesting if you had if they could just train house help in some of these special things.
Yes, the trainings are there for practically the mothers, where they invite,
mothers, yeah.
they invite the house helps. Now the challenge with house helps, today you have this
The
one.
turnover is so high.
Oh, is it really?
And,
Is it really high?
and their interest, very few of them would be interested in taking on so challenging, employment. They would probably just bolt unless the pay and then their terms are really.
I mean, there's certainly plenty of caregivers for elderly that are trained here in Kenya. I know that's a thing where for people who have special needs physically, that's a regular occupation.
True.
But do we have many in-home helpers with that are familiar with autism at all?
No.
I don't think
So right now, through the programs that you've been through, everyone is working with an institution.
Not really, because now the rollover of the current program, we are looking at it as safeguarding the persons with the disabilities. Well, how are we safeguarding them? We are starting right from home. From home, we are trying to give the permanent caregiver there, who is the parent, all the information that they need in terms of the child, the developmental milestones, where they were expected to be, where they are, and where we expect them to move to. See? So they have all this information at their doorsteps. Now, when they receive a house help, they are in a position to help. And still, there is an avenue. If they are not in a position to discuss this, now they sought for help from an institution, from the institution. We are trying to make it a community thing, a community upbringing, a community pool. We are mending the bridges, because most of the time, a parent just releases the child to go to school, and then they will receive the child in the evening. Even something simple that you expected them to help at home, they won't, or they are too busy for that. So we are trying to involve them as much as possible, because if they are not empowered to do this, then the society will be a disaster.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering also, again, so there is the schooling sort of integration to a point. At some point, you would assume that you want as much independence. All of us want our kids to grow up, to be independent, and to take care of their own lives when you're not there. You want them maybe to even have employment opportunities in safely, so that people, even if somebody hires an autistic person, they have in mind this is, and I'm going to take care of this person. So when it comes to things like sensitization, like the community, it's not just thinking of the child, but all the way to adulthood. Would an employer hire an autistic person, and when they hire the autistic person, how do they treat them? Say in an office environment. I think all those things would be good for more and more people to become aware and to create space, for that. I'm just going to recount. There's a time someone approached me to take their child in as an intern who was a deaf person, that grown up deaf. And so you could tell from the parent how they expected that we would reject the idea. It's like we're just trying, but they're not even sure that, But when the guy came in, initially he was very timid. But I think it was this maybe the way life keeps blocking you, and people keep, they just dismiss you all the time. So he came in, but the funny thing is the people I was working with did not treat him as an invalid or impaired or something. They just started treating him like a normal person. In a very short time, this guy became so bold, and he was doing such incredible stuff. It's like, just that interaction with him and just treating him like, dude, you're not just, we are not, you're not giving you any, but obviously you would also try and protect him as much as possible because of his condition.
Yes.
But the guy became so bold and so confident and so happy. And it wasn't, we cannot say we did anything spectacular. All we did was just treat him like, dude, you're one of us. Perfect. So I suppose the same, if it was possible for autistic people, would be really, really nice when they grow into adulthood. I can actually see some incredible challenges, like, let's say an autistic person is commuting public transport.
Yes.
Nobody has any idea this person is autistic. And maybe you interact with them in a way that sets them off, and they're really agitated for some reason. He can even be hurt. People can even, beat him up or something. Yeah. I can see some of those things happening, especially for adults, because we tend to take care of children, but we don't think about the needs of adults.
Well, that brings me to a question: is there anything out there happening right now in 2024 that is exciting or special that you're encouraged by? Like, I know in my hometown they have transit services for people who are, might be paraplegic or quadriplegic or have special mobility needs. There are groups of people that build ramps for people who are in wheelchairs. And even in Kenya, there's restaurants that are run primarily by people who are hearing impaired. Mm-hmm. There's television stations for people who are hearing impaired, and there's options for some of the satellite services for people who are visually impaired to have that. And so we see that there's a growing sort of perspective. There is some amount of help for people who are dealing with various abilities or disabilities or conditions. Is there anything exciting happening in the space right now that you could talk about?
Yes, there is quite much happening. For example, I think next month, mm-hmm. we'll be taking a flagship for our public vehicle sensitization.
Really?
Bus, yes, in Kajiado County.
Okay.
So
I just speaking to what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
okay.
that one. We are running it. Mm-hmm. It
what
is
it?
Public transport sensitization.
This is the thing persons. I was talking about.
Yeah.
So how does that take place?
How do you do
yes,
it?
we are inviting the drivers,
mm-hmm.
stakeholders in the public sector, public transport sector. We are inviting them for a symposium, for a workshop, to talk, to interact, to let them know why, to show them the reality that we have in the society, mm-hmm. to give them the tips on how to deal with this if you
encounter any of this.
Okay.
Because many of our students are grown up, they use this public transport.
All right.
So we are running that program in next month.
Okay.
So it is a flagship that probably will run for the rest of the year. We'll be having the workshops
mm-hmm.
running with them.
In Kajiado?
Yes, in Kajiado County.
Okay.
Yes. That is one. The other one, we are still under the safeguarding persons with disabilities. We are trying to come up with a home care for the severe cases.
Mm.
Now, this is not just the autism space, but also the Down syndrome. We also have the cerebral palsy.
Okay.
We also have the visually impaired. We also have the, what do we call them? Mentally challenged. So all those that are severe, but do not gain much in an institution, we are trying to set up a home care mm-hmm. for them to be done at for these services to come at home. These services will be all the therapies that they need and all the sensitization, the massages, the stretchings that they need at home.
I see.
So those are the 2 running programs that we are working on.
And who is we in this context?
Orione. Orione.
At who?
Orione.
Who is Orione?
Yeah, what's going on?
Do you want to tell us a bit about Orione?
Yes, Orione was an Italian priest.
Okay.
Yes.
Did he like a pass at that?
Currently, I'm working under the Orione Community Training Center. Yes, and the Orione Community Training Center, right now we have 2 centers in Kenya.
Okay.
One in Murang'a and the other one in Kajiado.
Where in Kajiado?
Rongai.
It's in Rongai.
Yes, Rongai.
I was there today.
Kandisi.
I was there today.
You were there today?
I live
Next
in
time,
Rongai.
welcome. Next time, welcome to our institution.
Okay.
Yes.
Where is it in Rongai?
Kandisi area, just next to the
Nazarene? Just the same.
What?
Further down.
It's near Nazarene?
it's near the SGR station.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, near the SGR station. So that is the organization I'm working under right now.
So I think as we bring this to a close, we speak about mental.
Yes.
The thing that we probably haven't addressed is autism and there are challenges there which are specific to autism. But we also have, the mental health ramifications that flow from being an autistic person challenged by autism.
True.
More so the caregivers. Would you want to highlight some of the things you think that they might be going through? Some of the issues.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge challenge. I mean, if you're a new dad and you're faced with this, do you have advice for the caregivers that you get? Could you tell our listeners sort of an overview of the sort of advice that you would give to the parents of the child that are being newly diagnosed?
First of all, in our space, there is lots of mental health challenges that can arise in this idea, because first you're dealing with a child who probably you think does not listen to you.
Yeah.
Yes. The autistic child can look away but will still listen to you. By the virtue of them not giving you an eye contact, it's not that they're not listening to you. I think that is the most practical thing I learned in this field when I came in, because I used to need them to look at me, but then look at me so that I can know they're learning, but then that is not the idea. See, so in our space we encounter a lot.
Frustration.
Lot of situation. First, from the families.
Yeah.
They sort of look at you as a professional as somewhere they can run to with all their challenges. Now this is a parent, probably a single parent, and shout out to all the fathers who are taking care of the children with special needs. That is a good and a positive thing for the whole family. Now, they come, they are talking about, now I cannot do this, I cannot leave this child with anyone else, not even my neighbor. You see how you can leave your child with your neighbor to look after, and then you go for some hustling. They cannot do that. Now, where is the frustration coming? To the center. If they have a quarrel with the husband says, no, this child is not ours. It's probably from your side. You see, those scuffles still come back to us. So you soak in. And now after soaking in, you're still receiving this child in the morning. And now the tantrums of the child are up. You are running all over. You need to handle child A, B, C, D, E, and F. By the time 2-3 p.m., you are exhausted. Your mind can literally not think about anything else. You just want to put it down and wait for tomorrow.
Are you okay? Because that sounds hard, man.
Yes, I'm okay. It is hard.
How do you maintain? You must really have to like.
It is hard. It is hard. Lots of physical activities, lots of talking among colleagues.
Yeah.
We really talk about our day. We do it like every evening.
Oh, really?
We need to debunk.
Oh, really? You
Yes,
do? Okay.
we need to debunk. We need to talk.
That's incredible.
We need to talk. We need now to release it. Then we'll pour our frustration there. We'll laugh about it. The other one will encourage. At the end of the day, you are lighter while going at home.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that is one of the way we are doing it. Another one, we are also trying to engage our colleagues in stress management workshops. So we also go for those workshops. We also have those workshops because frustrations can boil up, and you need to look forward to the next day, because you are looking at yourself. If you give up, then what of the parent? If the parent has not given up, if you give up, then when? Why? What?
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the resources available to parents outside of the organization you're with?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other resources available to young parents that are dealing with this?
Yes. Resources are there. Some might be expensive, but
Do you have any recommendations for our listeners?
For our listeners, yes, we have many things to assist our children with. For example, we have simple pencil holders. I think 200 bob, you can get them. We have simple large print writing materials.
Mm-hmm.
We have simple talkback flashcards to learn language, where you can just fix a card, then the child will see the picture, and the machine will talk back at what the animal. Okay. So that gives them the comfort of learning. Then we have the simple things like massages. We have the simple things like colored balls. When they get the colors, it somehow calms them down. We have simple things like wrist pushers. So you can get them. There are lots of them.
What about other organizations that people could be pointed towards here in Kenya that would help them on their initial path? Like right now, the average listener would be just wondering.
Yes,
I see the signs. What do I do next?
Yeah, they're there. First, we have Orione Community Training Center, Kenya. We have Luminous Hearts Charity. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Luminous Hearts Charity, it's interesting because this one is a friend. We as friends, I'm glad because probably the Luminous Hearts is looking forward to this podcast, and we are running a Mother's Day edition in Isiolo. We picked up a family, and now we want to go back and make the family more stable, because this mother was a single mother and the child was totally disabled physically with cerebral palsy. So the living condition was really terrible. So Luminous Hearts is another organization. They can go for help.
And there is I think when you were online, there's a parents association. What was that you saw online? I wonder what they do.
So there's an Autism Society of Kenya. It's an
Autism
NGO.
Society of Kenya.
And then I think I've heard of this one before. Mali Therapy Center.
Yes.
Where is that? Where is that located?
It should be in deep side of Kawangware.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah, that makes
Kawangware.
sense.
So we have there are lots of societies that you can approach, both online and physically.
Okay.
Right now I'm working closely with the Autism Parenting magazine.
Okay.
And we're having a annual parental magazine summit running from 22nd to 24th.
Okay.
Yes, so there they can get all the information they need.
And what's it called again?
Autism Parenting magazine.
Ah, I see.
Yes, Autism Parenting magazine is there. Then Facebook, we have Kenya.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah,
what's it called?
Facebook, we have Kenya Autism Association.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Kenya Autism Association.
Okay.
Now that one is beautiful. Why? Because it is purely for parents. Parents share.
Yeah.
They come share. Now when they share, and the child had an idea of, my child got some help from somewhere. Now they share the contact there. That is how the simple community is working, and it is helping the parents themselves.
Okay.
That's really helpful. And I think I did one more question. How about common myths? I know this should have happened way earlier in the discussion, but what are some common myths in Kenya about living with autism or being?
That you might want to debunk.
Yeah, in Kenya, the first one and the most common one is witchcraft.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a recurring theme on the podcast. I mean, it comes up a lot when we're talking about mental health issues. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of witchcraft is not in autism.
So it's not a curse.
It's not a curse. It's not a curse. It's not in autism. Not now, not never. It has never been in autism. So that is the biggest myth that even our local, the very, very local areas where we come from is a big, big challenge, because even it becomes into a fight between brothers, family members.
Sure.
So that is a very common one. Then the next one is they cannot work.
That it's hopeless.
Yes,
Yeah,
they are hopeless.
okay.
They cannot fit in a working environment, in an office.
Right.
That is a big myth also. It is not right.
Absolutely, yeah. I've definitely seen people somewhere on the spectrum who work in offices, and I've seen people who are also not necessarily geniuses that are excel in certain things.
Correct.
Yeah.
You see, in office setups, I think the simple thing will be because when you get an autistic child to where now they can handle work, the person in charge of the child is convinced and has something to show you that I'm convinced child can work in your company. As an employer, what you need to ask is, you don't need to question it. You just need to ask, how will we accommodate the person?
That's interesting. Okay.
Yes, because I'm here, I'm autistic, I have problem with social spaces. I'm good at my job. So in those social spaces, probably I'll get overwhelmed. I'll struggle. So limit the social things. If I react aggressively to the sensory displays of audio or sounds, funny sounds in the office, limit them, or just give me headphones.
Or have them work in a monastery.
Yes.
Something like, there's a solution, there's a creative solution for all kinds of things.
And then I suppose one of them would also be routine. Don't tamper with their routine.
Don't tamper
Create
with their
one
routines,
routine, stick with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So myth number 2 is that they can't ever be employed or have a job or have a future. Is there a third myth?
Third myth, they can't get married.
Can't get married. Oh, no, they can't for sure.
Yes. They do have families. I think I have a friend on the spectrum, married, and it's beautiful.
I've never thought of that. It's, of course, it makes sense.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Are there any more? Any more myths?
Any more myths I can think of? I'm looking at the major ones. Yeah, they can't learn. That is another thing.
They can't learn.
Yeah, they can't learn. They don't understand. They are dumb.
Yeah.
You see, those are myths. You need to get to them, not them getting to you.
Okay.
I think there's one thing that I don't know if you. I won't be specific because I just know a lot of people, and I wouldn't want them to be offended. But some people came to me one time. People I didn't know that well, but they knew that I was close with someone, and they said, "Will you please talk to this person because he's a colleague, and he's being wildly inappropriate, and you're friends with him. Maybe you can do something about it." And I happened to be with a friend at the time who also knew this person, and they told me, and said, "Don't they realize that he's autistic?" And I went, I didn't. Oh, of course. But these people were in a different generation. They were in their 60s, and their friend was also in his 60s, and they were going, "Hey, talk to this dude." And then I put it all together, and I realized that there's just, if you don't know the signs, you may not be compassionate about. The guy just wasn't socially acceptable. He wasn't thinking in terms of what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate. But all the signs were there. The way his eye contact worked, his obsessive compulsive sort of behavior, his attention to detail in patterns and all this sort of thing. But because he was like in his 60s, and so were his friends, they just never even considered that maybe the guy actually has a particular condition that doesn't require someone to fight with, but someone to be compassionate about. And so that's another thing is it would be nice if the general public also had enough awareness that they could see that where you might be tempted to be angry, if you saw the signs, you'd go, "Oh, of course. He just needs someone to take him aside and discuss these things." He's not being obstinate. He doesn't see it.
Yes.
He doesn't perceive it the way the rest of us perceive it. And I think that's such an important thing to know that with more knowledge of what the spectrum and the behaviors that lie on the spectrum are, all of us could be more compassionate.
Correct.
It's one thing to see. So if someone has an overactive saliva gland and they're drooling, you go, "Oh, there's something different about them." But for a lot of people, they don't have any telltale signs until it butts up against what you believe is normal. But you still may not associate it with an issue that is autism, because the symptoms are so varied. And yet are specific, but so many of them could be socially irritating, I suppose.
True.
And so we're all sort of programmed to look at children,
Yeah.
whereas there may be
As
someone.
you grow older.
Yeah,
As you grow older.
and it's like, "Oh, he's just a terrible person." Well, he's not a terrible person. You're not thinking of him as someone who may be on the spectrum. And so I think that's also important for all of us in our own mental health, because I think for them, it was a major thing. It was a thing where it mattered to an entire group of people, his behavior, and the relief when everyone went, "Oh, he's on this, and then everyone was able to shift, make an adjustment, and show compassion in that situation. But that was just a matter of knowledge. It was, and it really changed things. It made a big impact. Yeah.
And so I was just wondering now, in your case, because you do have to, are you committed to this thing for life? You may never be able to step away. Are you going to have the...
Yeah, what if you win the lottery?
I plan to be in this space for life.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a fair share of challenges, but I also have a fair share of joy, of beautiful things that have happened.
Well, it's really nice to see anyone who feels like it's a calling as opposed to a paycheck, because I feel like there's so many occupations that require some amount of compassion that people just go to because they just need a job. And so to find someone who found it early and in spite of the fact that it wasn't like necessarily a high paying thing, it's really wonderful and commendable. And so Eric, I mean, I can't thank you enough for actually being in that space.
Yeah.
We all have a lot to learn.
The space is beautiful. The space is very, very broad.
Yeah, I mean,
Many things can come in. What you're doing right now, you're pretty much doing what someone else should be doing, but then didn't do. So what you're doing now, the information will be out there to many people, even more, and the more sensitization moves on. So when they get the few traces of what autism is, they will want to know more, and that is how our society will look better. That is how we will be more compassionate. That is how we'll accommodate our day-to-day life for these people on the spectrum. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eric. I think this would be a splendid time to bring this to a close. As usual, I hand over the speech to Darren. He has a lovely way of just closing things. Darren, take it away.
Well, thanks, Charles, and thanks, Eric. I really appreciate it, and it's I appreciate you handing it back over to me because I love to talk. But most of all, let's just be encouraged to everyone who might be a listener who is possibly looking at the signs and symptoms of having a child or family member, or maybe even a father or mother or cousin or someone who's older than them, who you may now realize, oh, perhaps they're neurodivergent, and perhaps it isn't so much something that I should be afraid of or upset with, and something that I should be compassionate about, but also the fact that you're not alone. And for the young fathers and mothers who are dealing with this, there are people like Eric out there, and it's worth it for your mental health to be able to reach out and not just look past it and hope it'll go away or hide it away, but to actually find other people, Facebook groups like you talked about, or the various hospitals that are available. The resources are there, and your mental health is also at stake as a result of having someone in the family who maybe you don't understand right away because they are neurodivergent. And so we can't thank you enough for listening to Me I Mental. I mean, who isn't?
Yeah.
And so Me I Mental, the podcast, can be found at meimental.me. That's our website. From there, you can find all of our social media. And of course, we don't charge for the podcast. And so you're sharing and you're liking and you're participating with us on social media is our currency. And so from all of us here at Me I Mental, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.